Welcome back to the virtual range. I'm Frank, and today we're talking about which range is the best for you when it comes to going out and practicing with your firearm. Let's discuss. Hey, before we get started, remember those gifts are down in the description for you. First off, those downloadable and printable targets, take them to the range and save yourself some money and just keep reusing them and keep printing them out. Trust me, we're going to cover this a little bit more. Additionally, that free online pistol course, it's a $100 pistol course that we have. It's online. It'll take you everything you need to know about range etiquette, about handling your firearm safety, and also about shooting better and more accurate. Full marksmanship component. It's a $100 course, but it's our gift to you. We're just giving it to you. Use it. We want you to use it. We want you to be better. We want you to be more confident. Now, which range is the best for you? There's a couple different ranges out there, and they can vary depending on the type of location you're in or the type of range you're actually seeking to go to. First of all, let's break down what these ranges look like. And that is going to be your full encompassing indoor range, right? This is usually owned by a private establishment, right? This private establishment is going to charge you for a lane fee and a few other things, which we'll get back to that. But usually they're pretty technological advancements in it, which means they have moving targets that you can send out, bring back up. You usually never have to cross the firing line at any point in time, which is great. It's a good safety mechanism or good safety aspect. And then additionally, usually they have a range master on hand all the time. While that can be good or bad depending on what you're trying to do, as long as you're being safe, that's all that matters. But these indoor ranges tend to have the most restrictions due to the fact of insurance and liability. It is what it is. You just can't get around it. Don't beat them up too much for it. They're governed by what their insurance says that they can do, because anything outside that, if you or anyone else were to get hurt, their insurance wouldn't cover it. So that's an indoor range, right? And that's just a brief synopsis of it. Then you have a regulated outdoor range. So regulated outdoor range can be one of two different things. So regulated outdoor range is a range that's outside. Sometimes it has canopy covering over it. Sometimes it doesn't. And what this range is this range is either run by the state in regards to that they actually maintain it and employ staff at the range. So a range master and a safety observer, that type of stuff. In addition to that, you can have private ranges, right? A lot of private ranges have an outdoor range where same thing, you pay, right? You're going to pay for a lane fee and any additional things you may need. And then you're going to have that aspect. Now, those private and those state maintained ones where they employ range safety officers and the like, those ones are going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say lenient. That's not the right word. They're going to be a little bit more open. Play on words there, open range. Anyway, I digress. Sorry. The big thing here is they're going to be a little bit more open to what you can accomplish, right? So indoor ranges have very limited mobility. They can only go out so far. You'll be lucky to find an indoor range that goes out to 100 yards. And whereas an outdoor range can go, out to 100 yards and can go all the way out to 300, 400. If you're really lucky and you have a long range component to your range, your outdoor range, it can go out even out to 1,000 yards. There's some restrictions on that, but it just depends, right? It depends on where you are. It's very rare to find a 1,000-yard range. Regardless, if you have one near you, great. You're one of the lucky ones. The big thing here is that these range, once again, are regulated. They have a safety observer or a range master, and they're out there making sure you're not violating any of the range rules. If it's a private establishment, same thing. They're going to make sure and make sure you're following the range because they have insurance liabilities. Same with a state maintained range, right? And these usually fall under, the conservation department in the state, like Fish and Wildlife, whoever has it. Sometimes there's a state range. Sometimes that range is on federal property. However, it's still maintained by the state. Regardless, none of that really matters. Here's what you need to know about these ranges. Still, it's regulated. There's safety things, but you may have to cross the firing line. And when I say you may, you will. You're going to have to cross the firing line to go hang targets, right? The big thing here is if it's a controlled range, right? If it's a controlled outdoor range, they'll have what's called hot and cold, right? Hot means you're able to touch your firearms, you're able to shoot. No one can go downrange of the firing line. You cannot cross the firing line. When the range is cold, you're going to have to break your firearms open, put chamber flags in them, make sure that they are not touched. You cannot touch a firearm. You cannot touch ammunition during a cold range for the sheer fact that they don't want any mistakes or mishaps happening. Big thing here. Range goes cold. That's when you go hang targets, pull targets, swap out targets, whatever you want to do. And you're able to go. Now, most outdoor ranges will have different sections. They will have a pistol section and a rifle section. Things to consider here, right? And they may even have a shotgun section, but the shotgun section may be limited to yardage, or maybe a conjunction with the rifle section. However, you just use shotguns on the shorter distance area, right? Shorter distance target hangers. So you go out there, you hang your targets, the line is cold, and you're still waiting until afterwards. So what they'll usually do is they'll do, for every 45 minutes of shooting, they'll do 15 minutes of range being cold. Or maybe for every half hour shooting, they'll do 15 minutes of range being cold. That makes it very difficult if you're showing up and, they just started there. You're going to have to wait a half hour to hang targets. Additionally, if the range is cold and you're trying to shoot, or you're just getting there and you want to put a couple rounds down range, maybe you need to sight in a firearm really quick and the range is cold, you cannot touch it. You most of the time, they tell you not even to walk out there, right? To walk out there while the range is cold, because they don't want you putting your case down, grabbing your firearm. They don't want you touching it at all, your ammunition or anything like that. Now let's back up to these private ranges, specifically the indoor and outdoor range. When you show up to an indoor or to a private range, right, it's owned by a private establishment. They charge you a fee to utilize that range. These ranges, right, make money based on how many hours you use their range. So usually what you'll do is say, hey, I would like a lane. And if you're an indoor range, they'll assign you a lane and say, here you go, this is your lane. And then you'll give them your driver's license, right? And they'll hold on to your driver's license until you're done. So additionally, the big thing with that is you now have to pay to go use that. Then you're burning your ammo, right? If you didn't bring enough ammo, you're going to have to go buy their ammo, and their ammo is going to run a lot more than what you'd probably be able to get it for individually. But they just know you're there. You're not going to drive somewhere else to get ammo. When they sell it right there, they're able to upcharge you a little bit there. Now, these are private establishments. It's a business. It's what they have to do to survive. You can't be too mad at them if you didn't show up prepared for the range, or if you wasted too many rounds. It is what it is. I don't want you out here saying, oh man, these ranges are they're a business. They're trying to make money, right? And it takes a lot to start an open range. But you're going there, you're going to be spending money on the time you're on the lane. You're going to be spending money on ammo you need to purchase, both from them or someone else. Targets, unless you use our downloadable targets. And then additionally, if you forget to bring your eyes and ears, which your eyes are just your eye protection and your ears are your ear protection, you're going to have to rent it from them, right? Or buy some from them, which once again, everything there is going to be marked up a little bit. So it's going to get pretty expensive. Same with a private range. They're going to have all those same things, a private outdoor range, excuse me. Now, a state maintained and state run outdoor range. This is going to be a little bit different. What this is going to be is sometimes these are paid, sometimes they're not. And when I say paid, I'm just talking a few dollars for like parking, right? Hey, this is just to mow it or something along those lines. It's not going to be that expensive. Whereas, and I should have touched on this before, an indoor or outdoor range, a single session is most likely going to average around $100 when you go. Unless you have a membership and you're really dialed in on everything that you do, it's going to run you probably about $100 every time you go to the range. You go to the range 4 or 5 times a year, that's a new gun, depending on, if you're buying a pistol or not. So keep that in mind. It can get pretty tricky, right? And pretty costly. That's where I'm going with this. It can get pretty costly. Now, back to the outdoor state maintained range. Outdoor state maintained and run range. Once again, you might have to pay a couple dollars. Some states don't charge you at all, right? It's just if that one's in a local area to you. When I say local, I mean there's usually, depending on the state, there's a few in every section so that you can go there and safely utilize your firearm. Once again, this is usually run by the conservation branch of that state, which is usually Fish and Wildlife of some sort, or conservation association, or however they have it set up. Then you have your outdoor ranges that are state maintained, but they are just open shoot. And what does this mean? Now, here's why I want to bring these up, because these are the best. These are the ones where I say you can go pay $2 you literally drop it in an envelope or a cash box, and you hang a placard on your license or on your mirror, just in case someone drives by to check to make sure you paid your $2 fee or whatever it is. And it's open shoot. You can do whatever you want. You can do movement drills. You can do prone. You can do kneeling. Anything you want. You can usually shoot any type of firearm you want. Big thing with these ones is they're not as well maintained. So they have certain sections, and you can shoot out to certain yardage. Like the one I'm thinking of specifically goes out to 200 yards, and it has a 25-yard single lane pistol. These aren't very big, but they're very open. So if you can get it where you're there by yourself, it's excellent. Now, here's the caveat to that. Because they are state owned and technically state maintained, but not state run, you and everyone else there is responsible for safety. So hopefully someone out there on the line is someone who has a lot of experience and knowledge, and maybe that someone should be you, right? Or it should be everyone, but specifically you, because you want to protect yourself. You need to make sure that you're calling a hot or cold range, right? And hey, cold range, everyone put their firearms down, let's hang targets. Or you talk to everyone, hey, is everyone cool if we go cold for a second, because we need to go hang targets? Is that fine? And yes. And then make sure everyone puts their firearms down. There's nothing worse than hanging your target out at the 100-yard line and then walking back, and someone's sitting there playing with their AR or their pistol, and it's pointed generally in your direction. And you're like, hey, yo, can you put that down there? Oh, it's not loaded. No. Can't tell you how many times people have been negligently shot or injured because, oh, it's not loaded. I swear, no, we're not playing that game. Just, you have to maintain safety, and you need to make sure everyone else is on the same point. So while I love these ranges, these are my favorite ranges to train at because they have no restriction. There's a safety aspect here. So no cost, but there's a safety aspect where you need to be mindful. Now, you should always be mindful of safety with a firearm, because that's your job when you're using or carrying your firearm. You have to be mindful. Caveat to this, there's one more that's new to the market. I shouldn't say new to market. It's been out there, but we utilize, and now we've developed the training to go with it. But there's training at home with a virtual system, right? And there's plenty of virtual systems out there. We utilize Mantis. We love Mantis because I can train with my actual firearm without modifying it. All I do is I make sure it's clear, safe, and I put a laser cartridge in it. And I can shoot that laser cartridge for any caliber firearm that I want. And then I have a system that uses my phone and some targets that they sent to me, where I can download these targets. And I can run through all the training. I can do movement drills, prone. I can go anywhere from pistol to rifle. Everything I need to train every aspect of firearms. The only real caveat to that would be the recoil is let me back up here. You can buy a system, or you can add on to the system so that you could get recoil. So you could do recoil management training, right? Because that's the one thing that people say, hey, they have an issue with virtual training. You can have a system where it actually recoils, and then you have a full training system. I don't need that. If I want to do recoil training, I'll go do live fire range, because I want to go do live fire a couple times a year anyway. And it's really dialed down my cost for live fire, because I only have to go to the live fire range every so often now to make sure that, one, I'm dialed in, two, I'm keeping up with my recoil management and target reacquisition after recoil management. These things are great. I love it. This is the other option you have. Train in your own home with your own firearm with no restrictions and no safety concerns. Virtual training is the way that we've decided to go. It's the way we're going to continue to go, due to the fact that technology is just advancing, and we're going to leverage it. We're going to leverage it for our safety. We're going to leverage it for our training, and we're going to leverage it for your training. So These are the type of different ranges you can do. You can do a private indoor range. You can do a outdoor range, whether it's private or state maintained and run, or you can just do an outdoor range that is state maintained, but doesn't have any employed staff there. Each one has benefits and cons. Monetarily, if you're at a private range, you're looking at $100, right? And then you're looking at restrictions. There's going to be a lot you can't do. You're not going to be able to fire multiple shots in succession. You're not going to be able to do movement drills. You're going to be stuck in a little box or on a chair, and that's where you're going to be at. Whereas an open range that's state maintained and run, you're going to have a little bit more discretion. You're probably going to be able to reach out a little bit further, but once again, you're not doing movement drills. It's going to be very rare that you can shoot prone or anything like that. And then you have open ranges, state maintained open ranges, where you can do anything you want, but you got to be worried about safety concerns. And once again, you're still spending money on ammo and things like that. Then you have the indoor, then you have, I guess it's indoor. Then you have the virtual range, where you can do everything you want as safe as you want and not spend any money. That's the type of training I'm doing. Anyway, if that intrigues you, start with our downloadable targets. You can use them to practice. You don't even need to buy a laser or mantis training system. Dry fire training with that in-home training is what every expert shooter and instructor recommends everyone do. No one is arguing this. Every instructor is on the same page that says, hey, dry fire training is the most important thing to do. Add technology to it, and then you get virtual training, which is even better, right? And it doesn't cost you anything. Additionally, if you want a plan to follow, download that free online training course that we have for your marksmanship and your basic pistol. It's going to walk you through everything. It's going to give you a training program, and it's going to help you shoot better. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.